I'm here sitting with two friends. They're founder members of an organization called Maverick Collective. It is a philanthropist organization, but they have a very special, very unique way to philanthropy. And I would prefer for them to, to explain to us how does Maverick Collective works, because, I think you guys, since you start thinking in how to do it, how to put together an organization like that with such young blood, I guess it was pretty exciting.
Definitely exciting, and this is a very, I guess, new, innovative way to engage philanthropists in projects. And Maverick Collective started about 3 years ago, 4.
Yeah.
It is an initiative of PSI, Population Service International, who they are a global health organization. And they decided to start involving philanthropists in much more than just asking them for their contribution. They're asking us to actually be involved in the projects and to give also our feedback and our knowledge. And at the moment, we're 14 founding members, and we are each working in different areas of the world. Right now, 3 of us are focusing in Central America.
Your project is in El Salvador.
My project is in El Salvador.
Why don't you tell us, Ana Morales, a little bit about your project?
My project is in El Salvador, and we're focusing on trying to prevent second-time unintended teen pregnancy. And the way we're focusing on that is through opening model clinics and engaging girls and men as well in educating about sexual health and sexual rights. It's also about training health providers to give the best services possible.
Well, Caitlin is even younger than Ana, and she is a very enthusiastic early 20s girl.
Mid-20s.
Mid-20s, okay, mid-20s girl. And she's from California, you live in San Francisco,
Yeah.
right? And I understand that you got involved in Maverick Collective about a year ago, and you're working in another project that is in Nicaragua.
Yeah.
What is it about?
So it's also working to reduce repeat unintended teen pregnancies for teen moms, and also working to destigmatize healthcare for young girls seeking to learn and access services for sexual and reproductive health. And we're also having a center of excellence that will train regional healthcare providers in best practices for working with adolescents to hopefully, steal the best practices through other clinics as well.
I guess that one of the reasons because you chose these projects, it's that you understand how important it is for women to get educated, to delay pregnancy somehow, and I can just assume that it's not easy to get the funding for a project like this, and because one of the things that you find hard is culture in the Central American and Northern Triangle.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of the problems in this area is that funding is pulled out once projects get going. So projects fall apart or they can't, follow through. So they're looking for different ways of funding it and bringing, money into the area and working on this. And definitely culture plays a very big part of this. I mean, you are working in countries where it's still very Catholic and things are still very, based on that. So talking about sexual health, sexual rights is hard because you're working in areas that it's illegal to have, an abortion
Or a pregnancy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with the religion part, in Nicaragua in the case of the project? How do you deal with that? And you're very young, I guess that is a great advantage for you to be able to connect with the audience that you're serving, with people involved in the project.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the aspects of the project that attracted me to the work with, I mean, I'm not an adolescent or teenager, but I still really, remember that phase, and it's a tough time for any girl, no matter where you are in the world, I think. And I think I was lucky to find Maverick Collective really early on when I started getting involved in philanthropy, because it is a really unique model to really learn a lot while you're making an impact. And I was definitely really attracted to, I think in regard to your question about how to deal with the religion, I think one of the main premises that Maverick Collective is based on is that innovation and change comes from communities. So I think it really starts there. And we are more trying to support these new ideas that are riskier ideas and haven't been able to be funded by more traditional donors. And think of ourselves as a lab for new ideas that then we can partner with our donors that are, the Gates Foundation or the Global Fund to really bring the projects to scale.
And as you said, I think a lot of it is working with the community and their needs. And for example, in your project, you're doing the human-centered design, which is very interesting because you're bringing in what people need and want and working that way to fulfill their needs.
Yeah, so we're going to be designing aspects of the work with teen girls who would be coming to the clinic, and so seeing exactly what they actually want and what they need so that we can then provide that and build that out into the model.
I understand that in Maverick Collective, it's not that you guys have bosses or there's like a structure like we could probably see in some other organizations or in a company. You guys are very hands-on, but everybody is hands-on in Maverick, right?
Yes, for sure. And I mean, you see different projects, like, for example, what Caitlin is doing. It's not a normal aspect of the PSI model. What is being seen is that everybody who has a different project, they're bringing in their different expertise in order to start this innovation, in order to start shaking up what has been done for years and years and years. And so at this moment, that is what needs to be done in order to create change, because sometimes we're stuck in the same project and the same way of doing things. So we get to bring in what we know, what we are experts in, to put into this project. And Maverick is actually very flexible in that way, letting us also put in our ideas to innovate their projects.
Let me get a little bit personal because you two are very, very young. And what moved you to do philanthropy? How did you start?
I think I started very young. My grandfather started his own organization in the 80s, and he focused on his community in the north of Mexico. And my mom was director for that organization for 20 years. So I remember, going into that office when I was 10, 12 and doing cartwheels. So I grew up, in that environment. And then as I grew up and I went to school, I started volunteering there. And then I eventually started working for my grandfather. So it's always kind of been in my blood or in my path. And I just continued. I did school, I did a master's in counseling, and then I worked in different organizations in New York and then in London. And after I stopped working for my grandfather, I decided to go my own way and start, figuring out what my interests are and where I wanted to head. And that's how I eventually stumbled upon Maverick.
And how did you start Caitlin? What is it that triggered the I want to do philanthropy?
I would say in some ways similar to Anna, it was kind of in my blood in terms of my family leading by example. And right before I went to college, my parents started a family foundation. So I kind of had that in mind, and I studied international relations and the role of international NGOs in particular on advancing human rights. And kind of came away not knowing exactly what I would do with that because, you learn a lot about what doesn't work, and we don't talk a lot about the positive sides and the progress that's been made. So I worked then in corporate communications consulting with an international firm, and then after a couple of years of that, had my quarter life crisis, which I call it, and realized, there's no reason for me not to start on this path now. So I pivoted back to philanthropy, knew I wanted to do something with women and girls, and then found Maverick Collective soon after that, and that's where now I'm here.
Don't get this wrong, but I understand that by living in California that you understand somehow the Latino culture, but you're not a Latina.
No.
What are you seeing here in Central America, in the Northern Triangle, about the Hispanic Latino culture that you can, you can enhance on the needs from all people, the people in the Northern Triangle that has been pushing into this philanthropy work?
Yeah, so, we have, the U.S. is made up of immigrants, and I would say even especially in California, and people coming from Latin America and Central America. And I would say, well, my mom was a bilingual teacher, so I don't know, that was something I
You speak some Spanish, right?
Yeah, I do. But yeah, no, I'm not from this region. But I think, Central America is our neighbor, so it's important that we work together a lot. And especially, in California, 1 out of 2 kids going into preschool and kindergarten is bilingual, and so many families are coming and are immigrant families. So, how do we build up partnership and trust among the regions and to have open societies?
And what about women and girls? How are you seeing the needs for women and girls in this part of the hemisphere?
I think there's a lot of, women are really powerful, and I think it's about unleashing that power and providing access to the education and services and information that they need to make decisions for themselves, because really what we've seen in the work so far is that when young girls and women are able to make decisions for themselves, they lift their entire communities and break the cycle of poverty. So that's really what I'm trying to do here. But definitely I'm learning more from the girls than I'm probably giving to them at this point.
Well, Ana, you have much more experience in philanthropy than Caitlin, and even in different parts of the world, because you travel a lot doing different projects and helping people in different scenarios. What can you tell us? How are you perceiving women and kids and girls in Central America? What are the things that needs to be done, the priorities in the region?
It's definitely education and giving them the chance to learn and to know their rights and to flourish and live to their fullest potential. And I'm gonna veer off a little bit. It's definitely our priority, teaching women and girls and helping them advance. But in my opinion and in my project, we focus a lot on including the men as well. Because if we want an advance in our community, in the world, to help women go forward, you need to also include the other half of the community. You can't do the work in one area and leave the others behind, because they eventually go home to their husbands or their brothers or whatever. So you need to make this work holistic and work with everybody.
Just a little example, what do you do with men in the project?
So there's different aspects to it. One is re-educating. There's been examples in other areas in Central America with PSI where they're re-educating men on what a man is, because a lot of it is in the culture. It's a male-driven, it's a patriarchal culture. So it's helping, those paradigms, those definitions change. Being a man is not being controlling, aggressive. So it's helping redefine, and that's through education, and that's through programs. Another program that we're looking at is including the men in how, in the women's process of pregnancy, and how a woman is feeling, etc., so they can help out throughout and then become eventually, hopefully, better fathers, and be inclusive, including in the family dynamic. So it's a lot about education, it's a lot about behavior change.
Now, Caitlin, you're a millennial.
Yes.
So, and I guess, how many millennials are involved in Maverick besides you?
technically probably one, but there are also two others, Anna and another, three other women who are in their 30s. So we count them as
Very young.
honorary millennials. Yeah.
Millennials by heart.
Yeah. But I think it's I think part of the reason that we just actually Anna and I came from Oslo last week for a workshop on engaging millennials and philanthropy for women and girls. And what does that model look like? Everyone wanted to be, more engaged and beyond the transactional relationship of just writing a check to an NGO and then maybe you receive an annual report. People want to be on the ground, they want to be learning, they want to be doing it with their peers and in a group in a lot of cases, so that you're doing it together
And that makes it more accessible as well.
Yeah, and it's a great starting point. There's the image of, I would say, the philanthropist. You wouldn't think of a millennial girl. You think of an older white man, and that is the most common probably. But that's definitely changing, and there's going to be many more millennial philanthropists being really active in the near future.
Actually, we had a conversation like 2 days ago, and we were talking about what philanthropy is, and philanthropy doesn't necessarily is related to money, right?
Yeah. We were talking about, being engaged and helping the community, and it doesn't necessarily have to be through money, through investment. You can do it through your time or through knowledge, or there's plenty of ways. And that's the good thing about the younger generation. Well, and the younger generations in general, they want to do things differently. And it's, it's coming through and it's helping change the way things are done.
And millennials are really value that, when whatever they're doing, whether it's their philanthropy, their work, their personal life, they really want it to live out their values.
How would you convince or make more millennials involved in philanthropy? Based on your experience, I think you have more experience on seeing the traditional philanthropy definition rather than the one that we're just talking here. What would you do to engage more people in this type of work?
I guess it was part what we were talking about the other day. I mean, it's about leading through example and about, showing people what you're actually doing, and not because look at what I'm doing and, this is my project, but more because people don't really know that what's available and how they can be involved. I think people need to start seeing different projects, different ways of helping. Sometimes it seems very out of reach. I mean, in my example, I worked in a very small, very focused community. And I know in my journey to learn, and I'm still on that, but to get to where I am, I wanted to be more impactful and create, work in bigger projects, but I don't have the experience. I don't have, I went to school and I did human resources. I didn't do global development or health or anything of the sort. So it's also showing that you can partner with the people that actually do know how to do this, that are doing this, that, have proven methods. So it's, talking about how there are different ways to get involved without you actually having to have all that knowledge and background.
And your friends, your fellow millennials, have any of them tell you, what are you doing, or why are you doing this, or how do you feel this? How do you find this gratifying? Have any of them tell you something like this, and what would you tell them?
Well, I think my friends are all really excited about this work, and none of them, I haven't been asked, do you find this gratifying really? But I mean, I think people, it's not necessarily like the normal thing to be doing, but I think people definitely see the value of it. And what I say to other people who are in my position, either with a family foundation or have the potential to be doing philanthropy on their own, I think why wait? Things are happening now. You can do this now. If you're connected, like Anna was saying, to the right networks and opportunities and partners, then there's really no point of waiting till you're a certain age or waiting until you feel that you have done a certain amount beforehand to feel that you can step into that role. And things aren't going to get better if you don't act. And I think another part of Maverick Collective that's important is we're really working to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. And part of that is having more and deeper strategic partnerships. And I think that is also between like philanthropists and NGOs and kind of breaking down that barrier that makes people kind of wary of each other and building more honest relationships so that we can move things forward.
Maverick is fairly new. It was found a couple of years ago, right? And I think you guys have a long, long way to go. What are the challenges? What are the midterm goals that the foundation has set for the work?
I mean, I think there's definitely many, we were actually just chatting about this before lunch. It's a new project, it's a new way of working, and there's growing pains, like in anything. And they're learning, we're learning, and it can be anything from how do you talk to the organization as a philanthropist? Like, how do you talk to them to get what you need from them, be it information or education or whatever, and them following through on that. And then as an organization, there's setbacks. They're building clinics, they're training people. So there's gonna be setbacks, and it's talking about it, because organizations don't really know, or sometimes don't want to tell you what their failures are in fear of scaring off a potential donor. So it's just learning together to work together.
To work together to do good things for the community. I don't know if any of you two want to say something in particular about Maverick, because I would like to open the session for the audience to ask you those questions, because I think there is many things that may be interesting, because when I first learned about Maverick, I was like, oh my God, just young people, and anybody can be part of Maverick. And I don't know, maybe some of you in the audience will have some questions that.
I mean, the only thing that I can say at this moment is that Maverick is a new way of working, and what the co-founders always say is, if somebody steals an idea, it's better, because it's getting more people engaged in doing this, and it's changing the way things are being done currently. So, if anybody's interested in Maverick, please contact us or go on our webpage, and I'm sure somebody will answer all the questions you might have if you have any.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if anyone has a question for Maverick, for this young philanthropist that we need to work to engage more millennials, right?
Yeah. I think so.
What would you tell them, by the way?
Well, kind of what I just said. I mean, just why wait? I think if you start thinking about why are you waiting, you'll realize that you're kind of creating your own barriers to doing something. And I would encourage them to seek out the networks and partners that work for them and what they want to do in the world.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I understand what you're doing individually, and I think it's fantastic. What does Maverick do collectively? Why would somebody become involved, and what would it bring to them that they wouldn't do on their own?
Well, for me, I love being a part of the group of women. So like Anna said, there was 14 founding members, and for me, I'm learning so much from them. I have a mentor in the group, and I think I probably wouldn't be doing any of this if I had to do it on my own. And I've heard that sentiment echoed by other members as well. And Melinda Gates is one of the co-founders of Maverick Collective and co-chairs. So she really wanted to raise the voices of more women for women and girls and raise more advocates.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, a lot of the things that I appreciate from Maverick is all the learning I get. If I were doing it alone, I would definitely not do it, because it's a big, scary world and I don't have the knowledge. So I definitely have to have somebody hold my hand until, I feel safe doing it on my own. And the learning has been tremendous. And and to be honest, I mean, one voice, you can make noise, but a group of people makes a lot more noise.
Anna and Caitlin, they're gonna stay here. And reach out to them and talk to them a little more about what Maverick and what is it that is moving them, moving their hearts to do all this fundraising job and this fundraising philanthropist job. I'm sorry, philanthropist work, but fundraising does too.
Yeah.
But philanthropist job, and I think there's a lot of room for other people that would like to do work with the girls. Well, thank you very much, Ana Morales and Kevin. And